Be sure to stay till the end of the video. After I get a chance to drive around at night with the lights on, I'm going to then give you my honest opinion of these lights. There are dozens, maybe even hundreds of options out there for added-on driving lights.
It was really hard to choose ones we felt would work best for our needs.
In this video, we'll tell you why we finally decided on these.
This video is brought to you by More Expo. Find out more about More Expo on their website.
These lights we've had since installing this bumper 5 years ago. At the time, these old style halogens were pretty decent and they matched the color coming out of our stock headlights. But LEDs have come a long way since then. And now that we have fancy new headlights from Freedom Retrofits, our FJ definitely deserves an upgrade. A few months ago, a representative from Auxbeam contacted us and asked if we would be interested in trying out some of their lights. Normally, we rarely respond to solicitations like that. But it just so happens that at that exact time, 2 of our original lights had burned out.
For the second time.
Replacement halogen bulbs for our old lights are really hard to find and super expensive.
So after at least a month of doing research into the company and their products, we picked out some lights to try. The lights we finally decided on are 7-inch driving lights and 4-inch amber fog lights.
Auxbeam is a very well-known company, so I think it's safe to say that the lights are made pretty good and they likely stand behind their products.
I still wanted round lights. They match the headlights and the overall retro look of the FJ. No light bars on this one.
The lights have a surprisingly heavy-duty case. One of the best things about the lights is the mounting hardware. This swiveling bracket is held onto the case with 4 stainless steel bolts. They also have threaded holes in the sides for more mounting options. One thing I'm not a big fan of is plastic instead of glass on the fronts, and it's pretty thin plastic. The inner structure of the light supports the back side, but if you hit a big enough bird, it would likely crack it. Over time, these are going to get foggy from road grit and salt. But our stock plastic headlights do the same thing. So,
where the wires go in the back, it looks to be very waterproof.
Moisture getting in is a huge problem with these types of lights, any lights. It'll destroy a light in no time at all. It's nice to see attention to details like this.
Another place where moisture will cause major problems is here, the connectors.
This is the harness that came with our old lights, and I cannot believe that it's lasted as long as it has. There's absolutely no waterproofness to these plugs, but we're going to do better this time around. We're going to be using connectors like this. They're totally waterproof. But first we have to splice them into the wires coming out of our lights and the wires behind the grille of the FJ. To do that, we're going to use a connector like this. It's a type of butt connector. You said butt. There's a little piece of solder in here that'll melt when you apply heat to it. And there's these little sealers on the end, and this will shrink down. That's actually shrink tubing. Before we put those connectors on though, I want to take a piece of this shrink tubing that has an adhesive lining in it and slide it up over this wire. And this will cover everything up when we're all done.
If your vehicle isn't already wired for added lights like ours is, we put a link at the end and in the video description to a video we made on how to install one of these pre-made wiring harnesses. It's important to note that these are not intended to be turned on when there's oncoming traffic. You would definitely blind people.
The fog lights too, they don't have a sharp cutoff line. The light basically just goes everywhere and they're very, very bright.
Unfortunately, we don't have any shots of our old lights at night. You're not missing anything though, they were pretty pathetic. Here's a shot of just our Freedom Retrofits headlights on. low beams, high beams, low headlights and our new fogs, just the Auxbeam driving lights, low headlights and driving lights, high headlights, driving lights, and fogs.
And now, my honest opinion about these lights. These are inexpensive lights. I think the driving lights come in around 150, the fogs around 80-ish or so. These Auxbeam lights, they're bright, and they broadcast the light all over the place. They're not really focused very well. And because of that, they don't project down the road as far as, say, the 30-inch rigid light bar that we have on our 4Runner. But that light bar costs like 6 or 7 times more than these Auxbeam lights. But for off-road use, I think these Auxbeams will do just fine. You don't have to have light going, a half a mile ahead of you. Basically, you just want to light up the trees and the rocks so you don't tear anything up. So I'm really happy with the driving lights. And like we said earlier in the video, do not have them on with oncoming traffic because you're going to blind somebody. Now, for the fog lights, I'm not real impressed with them, to be honest with you. They put out a lot of light, but again, it's not focused. It just goes everywhere. And in my opinion, fog lights I need fog lights to shine the road right in front of me. In fact, the fog around us is so dense that you sometimes only have, you can only see like 30, 40 feet in front of you. So I need to see that center line on the left and the side of the ditch on the right. And I don't want that light to shine back in my face. I'm afraid that these, because the light just goes everywhere, I'm afraid it will reflect off the fog or rain or snow and come back in my face. So if what you're looking for are some 4-inch driving lights, amber colored, these are fine. But don't expect them to perform real well in fog or snow or rain. Are there better performing lights out there? Absolutely. But again, for the cost on these, the low cost, I think they're worth it.
If this is your first time watching one of our videos and you'd like to see more, hit the subscribe button. And don't forget to ring the bell if you want to be notified.